Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Ben Shalom has done a couple of interviews over the last 24 hours, and he's talked about a few different issues, mainly Frazer Clarke, Ben Whittaker, and Frank Warren. So in the case of Frazer Clarke, we all know what happened. Clarke suffered a very bad knockout to Fabio Wardley, and Ben was saying that he went with Frazer, to the hospital and had Frazer had an operation. Shalom says that Turki al-Sheikh was fantastic. He got Frazer the best surgeon. The operation was done instantly, and Frazer's back on the mend now. And Ben said that Frazer is has never been more motivated. He wants to come back, and he's licking his wounds, the psychological ones as well as the physical ones, but he'll be back. So that's Frazer Clarke. With regard to Frank Warren, Warren has given interviews saying that Shalom was, a nightmare to work with, a very unpleasant experience. There was the incident on the stage where Ben Shalom appeared to push in front of Frank Warren with his fighters, and Frank had words with him and so on. And Frank has also mentioned a contract or a set of contracts that exists that Ben Shalom insisted on putting in place because, about how he should be on the stage, his fighters should be on the stage, and so on and so forth. Now, Shalom has come back and said, well, yes, there are contracts in place. You know why? Because and my fighters were being frozen out. We would get to events, and the Riyadh events, there was no accreditation. My fighters were not being allowed to be centre stage. Obviously, I'm going to fight the corner of my fighters. So yes, the contracts were put in place because Warren and Eddie Hearn, who at this particular point in life are two cheeks of the same arse. They get on so well. They're trying to freeze out Shalom, and he's the sort of runt of the litter. And Shalom is saying, I'm not having it. My fighters deserve to be on that stage, centre stage, just as much as the others. So Ben is saying that he insisted on those contracts for that reason, which may be true, because as I said in a previous video I did, Ben is the new kid on the block, love him or hate him, whether he's a good promoter or not. He is taking the role that Eddie Hearn took 12 or so years ago when he came into the industry. Whether he's as good a promoter as Eddie Hearn is irrelevant. I don't think he is. I don't think the evidence is there, but, he is the new guy. And Eddie was the young gun, and Frank was the old guard. And now Eddie is gradually morphing into the sort of Frank role. And Shalom is the new guy. And Frank is rapidly becoming, the Bob Arum in his 70s now. like pretty much the elder statesman. And of course, Eddie and Frank are getting on now, as we know. So Shalom, you could argue, has a point there. You could say, well, he is entitled to say, hang on a minute, I'm part of this promotion as well. My fighters are part of this promotion, and we need our slice of the pie, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I want to see good fights, and I wouldn't trust any promoter. If I was a fighter and I had a promotional deal, I would have my personal lawyers combing that contract, looking for the small print, making sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted, and there's no sort of wiggle room for any kind of exploitation or manipulation or anything that's negative towards me. And then we're talking of contracts. What about Ben Whittaker then? Because Ben Whittaker is the one that's taken probably the biggest internet hammering. Everyone was, well, not everyone, but a lot of people were delighted to see what happened, and they accused him of quitting, going over the top rope with Liam Cameron. And Shalom said about Ben Whittaker, he said a few things. He said, first of all, Ben didn't look himself in the ring. From the moment the opening bell went, Shalom said, I knew this wasn't the Ben Whittaker I know. And he alluded to Whittaker having 9 months out of the ring from a neck injury, which Shalom doesn't feel Whittaker has necessarily fully recovered from. But what was most interesting of all is that he made veiled comments about Whittaker having to think about things, how this might be a blessing in disguise, and having to think about his team and his conduct outside the ring. And he strongly implied that Whittaker has been sort of spreading himself too thin, maybe not living the life he should be living as a fighter, doing too much outside the ring, too many hangers-on, looking after his family when he should be, at the moment, at this point of his career, which is still a fledgling career, instead of looking after himself and his career and making sure that he's laying the groundwork for a successful, highly lucrative professional career. And Shalom it was very interesting the way he phrased things, because he obviously didn't want to come across as being anything other than a supporter of Ben Whittaker. But he was saying, he's got to make decisions, and I think there may be some truth to this, because Whittaker, when you consider he was a silver medalist at the Olympics, and he's exploded onto the domestic scene because of all the showboating and flashiness and all that stuff that some people like and I don't. I want to see substance behind any kind of pantomime nonsense. If there's no substance behind it, I'm not bloody interested. I hate showboating. I think it's nonsense, really. The only thing that goes through my mind when I see a fighter, acting the fool is get on with it. Piss or get off the pot. I'm not interested in it. If I want to go to the pantomime, I go to the pantomime. If I want to go to a boxing match, I go to a boxing match. But some people like it. And yeah, it does raise profiles. I get it. But Ben Shalom was saying maybe Ben Whittaker needs to reevaluate everything. And when your promoter is saying that, albeit in a very veiled way with a smile on his face, you know that they're going to have some serious discussions behind the scenes, serious discussions. And of course, if Whittaker wasn't recovered from the neck injury, what was he doing in the ring with a Liam Cameron, who is a very tough, durable, probably a European level fighter? Now, Cameron, of course, has been signed by Frank Warren in the subsequent days. So the rematch that's going to be one that Warren will no doubt go after, and Cameron will want, obviously. Ben Shalom said that Whittaker won't fight for the remainder of the year. He needs to get himself, have a full physical overhaul, make sure he's, in tip-top physical condition, and also sort out anything outside the ring that's getting in the way of progress. So I thought these were interesting comments from Shalom. Because if you're not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, and very, very few of us are, you hear rumours from people who know people. But if you're not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, it's interesting to read between the lines of some of these interviews. Sometimes people say a lot without saying much, if you know what I mean. You've got to sort of do some digging. So what did you think? Have you seen these interviews with Shalom? They make for intriguing listening. Go and have a listen, see what you think. Leave some comments below if you've got any. And of course, thank you as always for your time. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. It takes a second. It costs you nothing. Hit the little subscribe button and hit the like button as well if you don't mind, because you're helping the channel out a great deal by doing that. And yeah, thank you. And of course, we will speak again soon. Bye for now.